Welcome to another round of Prem and Proper here at SDH. We'll get you ready for the match week. Various numbers and various sides, and we get to let you know how everything's going to shape itself out. After the schedule compression of the midweek, we'll go back over the numbers and get you ready for standings and juice boxes on the weekend. So before we go forward, we have to go backward, take you into the midweek, and let you know what happened. And it was on the 30th, Arsenal, a 2-1 winner over Nottingham Forest in a tough contest for the Gunners, winning it at minus 263 at City Ground. Shocking result of the midweek. Luton putting 4 on Brighton and winning at the Kenny at a plus 322 in the composite. Disappointing result there, obviously, for Roberto De Zerbi. We'll get into the standings coming up in just a little bit. Fulham and Everton had north of 40 shots, no goals. 1 point each at a plus 225. Crystal Palace in a back and forth. 3-2 winners over Sheffield United at Selhurst Park. Chris Wilder, after the match, upset with the officiating, and he has told the folks at The Guardian, among others, that he's going to let the PGMOL know about it, and he's not a fan of how things have been going against his club, not just during his tenure this season, but beforehand, early in the season under Paul Heckingbottom. Newcastle, a big win over Aston Villa at Villa Park by the final of 3-1. That one was at a plus 290. On the 31st, Spurs and Brentford in a crazy match ends up with a 3-2 final. Spurs winning at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at a minus 156. Manchester City, big day for Julian Alvarez, winning 3-1 at home over Burnley at a minus 909. Liverpool thumping Chelsea 4-1, and at times it didn't even seem like it was 3-goal margin. I thought it was far more dominant than Liverpool there at a minus 154. West Ham and Bournemouth, 1-1 draw by the time it was done. Dominic Solanke takes advantage of poor passing at the back and converts the turnover. 1 point each, hard-earned point by the Cherries at a plus 261. And one of the craziest results of the entire midweek, Manchester United gives up a goal to tie it at 3 at 90 plus 5. They'd win it at 90 plus 7. We'll hear from Drew Dickinson with the 3D coming up a little later on in the show. Manchester United winning at a plus 143. So that means your standings with folks still with matches in hand, and we'll let you know how that has shaken out. Everybody has played 22 matches for the most part except for a couple. Liverpool, 51 points, 5 points clear, but Manchester City has a match in hand at 14-4-3. And they are 5 points back ahead of Arsenal on goal difference, but Arsenal has played their 22nd match. Spurs at 43 points ahead of Aston Villa on goals scored. Identical records after 22 matches, identical goal difference, but Spurs have scored more goals, and that puts them in 4th and Villa in 5th. That's group number 1. Group number 2 starts with West Ham in 6th in the Europa League slot. They've drawn their last 3. They haven't lost in their last 5, but they only have 3 points to show for it. They're at 36 points in 6th place. Manchester United, they've hit each column once in their last 3. They're at 35. Newcastle snapped a 4-game losing streak. They're at 32. They are in 8th ahead of Brighton on goal difference, who are still in their European competitions. They are in 9th. Chelsea, 10th, had a 3-game win streak snapped with the loss to Liverpool. They're at 31 points. And 29 points ending group number 2 is Wolves, 29 points. They are in 11th place once again. They've hit each column once in their last 3. Group 3 starts with Bournemouth, technically. 26 points. They have only 1 point in their last 3 matches, and they are in 12th. Fulham is at 25 points. They are in 13th. Palace has won 2 of 3 after all the threatening words about Roy Hodgson and him possibly being dismissed at Crystal Palace. It is now 24 points in 14th place. It is Brentford, 22 points. They've still lost 6 of 7. They snapped the 7 of 8 losing streak last 2 times ago with a big win, but they lost last time out, so they're at 22 points in 15th. Forest lost 2 in a row. After winning 2 in a row, they're at 20 points. Luton Town now out of the relegation zone. They are at 19 points. They've won 3 of their last 5. They've only lost once. Currently in the relegation zone, it's Everton at 18 points. They only have 2 points in their last 6 matches. Burnley is at 12 points. Sheffield United is at 10 points. So let's get you into the sound and get you ready for the weekend. First and foremost, obviously with the transfer window closed How will future windows look? Darmish Seth starts the conversation with our friends at Sky Sports News.
Everybody knows the rules. So it's not like, oh my goodness, we didn't know about this. They knew that on a rolling 3-year period, you can't make losses of more than £105 million. Everybody knew that. 18 clubs in the last 3-year rolling period have operated within those rules. Nottingham Forest and Everton didn't, and they're now in breach, and we're going to find out what happens to them. But I think it was that 10 points, as Sam mentioned there, that is the one that everyone sat back and went, oh, if that had been a fine, we could have swallowed the fine and we could just carried on spending. Points, we got to be careful. That's why in this window, even clubs like Manchester United, they can't go into the market to get a loan. We're not talking about a permanent deal, to even get a loan. That's how close to the win some of these clubs were to profitability and sustainability rules. Now, if you go into the next 3-year rolling period, the first year of the previous one will disappear. And that might have an impact on how much money clubs can spend in the summer, because they'll probably be hoping that that first year of the previous 3 years was the contributing factor for most of their losses. So that then disappears, right? So then they can maybe spend a bit more. But I think everyone has more or less kept their powder dry ahead of the summer, when they do the majority of their business anyway, because that's when they plan to go into a season. They don't go into a summer transfer window. You know what? All gathered around the table, let's go massive in January and don't do anything in the summer. Doesn't happen. You do everything in the summer because they're ahead of the season, and you try and top up in January. But what clubs have tried to do in January is maybe just offload a few, just to try and get them ready for a bit more of an attack in the summer. So, of course, we're expecting much more of a spend and a much busier market in the summer, but against the backdrop of profitability and sustainability rules, where every single club will still have an eye on that.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see a window again. We're under the current rules where it's like clubs go mad and buy loads, because I think they'll always be thinking, let's add one. Let's sell what, it's gonna become trading in it. It's always one out, one in. I think that's what it's gonna be for clubs now. But some people will argue
that depends, because don't underestimate here the value of a massive single sale, right? You look at what Aston Villa have done over the last 3 years. It's almost solely funded by a £100 million sale of Jack Grealish. One big sale can change the landscape for these clubs. Obviously, they're all going to dip in and out of different levels of losses as the years go by and as 1 year of accounts drops out of that 3-year window. So it might be a bit random. A team that might be quiet for 2 years might then suddenly have a lot more spending power in year 3. I'll give a quick shout out to Wolves, who I think basically, as far as I can tell, lost a manager over staying within the realm of PSR. Lopetegui wanted signings. They said no. He seemed to say, okay, well, I'm done here then. And they said, look, man, we can't afford to do this. We can't afford to spend, and therefore we can't afford to breach. And if you are going to leave over this, then you have to leave.
Now let's tour the league and hear from some of the principals and some of the managers as they get ready for the weekend. First off, Mikel Arteta, courtesy of Arsenal, their own selves, about Arsenal's goals and staying on top.
What we need to do is play like we played the last 2 games against them, and be more efficient in the areas that's going to decide the game. But very excited. It's always great to prepare a game against Liverpool. How good they are. They dominate every aspect of the game. And we play at home. And what I sense is a real sense of positivity and enthusiasm around the place.
You came obviously so close last season. For so long you were sort of battling right at the top. When you look at this game and you look around where your squad is and your players now, how better equipped do you feel as a group to go into these big games and come out on the right side of them?
Obviously, we had some big experiences, and what we did last year, it was another big step. And this season, we are trying to do something even better. And we are in the Champions League as well, which was a big step. And yeah, the squad is better. It's true that we have some very, very important injuries within that, but I think the squad has managed really well. This season, we have beat big teams already. And it's another opportunity to beat Liverpool now and be in a much better place. And we talk about momentum, and we won the last 2 games. And we want to win the third one, especially at home with our people. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere, and we're going to need that. So I encourage everybody to do that, to play with us every single ball. And if we do that, we're going to have a big chance to win the game.
Ange Postecoglou was asked about Spurs and their window, and there was one transaction that didn't happen that he addresses right here, courtesy of Spurs their own selves.
We got some good loans. Alejo left yesterday, and he was developing well with us, but obviously got the injury. But great for him to get some game time now in a good league at a good club. Actually, Philip, Selfie Divine. So, from all those aspects, probably the only disappointing one was yesterday. I thought it was a really good opportunity for us, and the club just didn't feel, they didn't feel it was the right move for us, so disappointed with that, but we ended up at Ferrari, so we just have to cop it. Oh, look at you all, eh? You were ready to type away. I was going to pause just to let his phone blow up.
You threw me.
No, it was a good one, mate. It was good.
You threw me.
That's right, go on.
Sorry.
We got some good loans.
One of the sights on the touchline for Manchester City as they were going up against Burnley was the return of the big guy. Erling Haaland was going back and forth and getting warmed up, getting ready for a cup of coffee. He seems to be back and being eased back into things at Manchester City. Pep Guardiola asked, courtesy of Manchester City their own selves, about Haaland's importance down the stretch.
I don't know, you see the game last game we played against Burnley. I don't know, you were in the stadium on TV, but played 25 minutes, and every transition, every pass, all the players look at him. So I know how important he is with us. So we try, the strikers be happy, and especially him, and it will depend if how we play. So if we play quite comfortable and good, he will get a lot of balls, and after that is what we want, and after that he will do the rest.
Chelsea, once again, we've been discussing them mid-table with all of the upheaval, all the transactions, all the money spent, and you've only got mid-table to show for it. Mauricio Pochettino, courtesy of Chelsea their own selves, asked about what it's like having to defend his club day in and day out.
Yes, I didn't want to go, to talk about the polemics and about the decisions. I think we need to split the two situations. But I think the performance wasn't good enough. That I repeat again. It's important to be critical and to analyze the scene in the way that happened, being realistic, that we were not good enough. But what I can say now, after 2 days, that is some decision, normal decision happened during the game. Maybe today or after the game we should talk in different way. But at the moment we cannot complain. Of course, I need to defend my club and the interest of my club and my fans. But I think it was so evident and so clear that, we didn't have the luck that you need, when you compete and you want to win games and to change sometime the direction of the game. Yes. What I can say is only that we didn't have luck.
New transaction for Crystal Palace, one of the moves of the window, and we'll get into what Gary Neville thought about deadline day, and frankly, only about 10% of the money spent in this particular window than in the past January window. So what about the idea of bringing in Adam Wharton from Blackburn? Big transaction, big pickup for Roy Hodgson. Here's his thoughts, courtesy of Palace their own selves.
Well, all I can tell you about him really is that Doug Freedman in particular has followed him for a long period of time, not purely recently. He followed him even last season and had him flagged up as a player with great potential, and a player maybe who would suit our style of play and would fit in very well here. So the injury to Doucouré, of course, has increased, if you like, the need for a player who's capable of playing in that position, who has the qualities needed for that position, and that prompted us, of course, to go in for Adam, who is young, so we have to accept that he doesn't have the Premier League experience, and there's going to be a certain amount of learning curve involved in his progression, but we do believe that he's got that incredible margin for progression and that he has all the qualities we're looking for a player in that position. So I think it's an excellent signing for the club, both in the short term and also in the long term, because he has a lot of football ahead of him at such a young age.
Could he feature against Brighton?
He could. He's available. He's been playing all the games up to now. There's no reason medically why he couldn't feature in the game if I want to put him in the team. So That's good, and the same applies to Daniel Munoz, who's also been playing on a regular basis. They both come from clubs where they've been playing every week and report no injuries at all, so both will be available.
And then, Jurgen Klopp. We talked about it last week where Jurgen Klopp is hanging it up after this year, taking a bit of a break. So at his press conference, getting ready for the weekend, he got a phone call, courtesy of Liverpool their own selves and Men in Blazers.
Recent years where it just seems that every game is must win. Does it feel a bit like that is happening again?
The dentist is calling. That might be important.
Oh, sorry.
Is that what?
Just leave it. Sorry.
Again, the dentist.
That is quite important, right?
I can imagine. Yeah. Sorry.
I was just asking. Obviously, you've been involved in recent years where it just seems.
The dentist. There you go. So then we might be getting more of these moments with the documentary crew as we head down the stretch with Jurgen Klopp. We mentioned Gary Neville. Gary Neville, once again, courtesy of our friends at Sky Sports and Sky Sports News, was asked about this past deadline day and what to anticipate maybe down the stretch.
Yesterday, we maybe got the window that we've always probably talked about in the football community. We've always said, whether it be managers, whether it be us, whether it be players, January is the most difficult time to do business. January is a time where you don't get value for money. January is a time whereby you sort of panic buy, so you shouldn't do, too much in this window. And yesterday we got the window we've always talked about. I think probably the odd thing is that last year, when you're nearly spending £900 million in a January window, it goes against everything that we say as sort of analysts of the game, because we always talk about those difficulties and challenges. There's no doubt that COVID is maybe catching up with clubs. I think the threat now of real punishment and the Premier League stamping down on the sort of FFP element. Obviously, Everton have been the first club to be punished. There are others, obviously, that maybe are being lined up, including Everton again. And I think there is a lot of caution. In the past, maybe, I think where clubs are over that 3-year, £105 million sustainability threshold, they've thought, well, maybe we can get players out. And then what's caught Everton out is they've not been able to get enough players out to be able to come back within the threshold, which means then get deducted 10 points. So maybe there's just a lot more caution, being a lot more sensible. I don't think it's a bad thing. I know that maybe yesterday fans that love transfer deadline day, and obviously at Sky Sports News, it's a big day for us as in terms of sort of just the excitement of it. But actually, maybe in terms of the club, the sort of the future of the game and sort of sensible clubs doing sensible business, maybe it was the start of something that means that we're going to see a bit more sustainability and smartness in this window moving forward.
Yeah, do you think that'll hold true just for the January window, or do you expect to see this sort of trend continuing into the summer? And will we see, perhaps a slower transfer market come this summer, or maybe prices for players just coming down that little bit?
Yeah, I don't think that would be a bad thing. I would expect the summer will explode again. I don't think that we'll see, it may come down slightly. But you've got to remember the TV money, obviously, that we're part of, and the global TV money is still the same as it was. So the cash is still going into the clubs. So the money's there that's always been there, if not more. So I don't think it's a case of the clubs haven't got the money. I think it's maybe a case of maybe COVID and the losses catching up with them, maybe a slightly new approach and thinking about sort of things in a little bit more of a measured fashion. But I think the main thing might be that FFP seems to be sort of hitting, I know Manchester United, a club that you would argue sort of spent hundreds of millions and have spent hundreds of millions. I know they're on the edge of FFP. It's not just the likes of Everton maybe and Notts Forest who are near the bottom of the league at this moment in time. They're trying to play catch up. It's the clubs right at the very top who we're having to just move forward with a little bit more sort of caution.
So now we get you ready for the weekend, and before we get into the juice boxes with Maddie and myself, here's Drew, and it's time once again. Thank you, Joey, for the 3D.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Drew Dickinson, and I am here to bring you this week's 3D. The Premier League returned this week, and it returned with a bang. Of course, we saw VAR. Liverpool take care of Chelsea 4-1 earlier this week, ending the Blues' 3-game win streak. And, of course, we cannot forget the 7-goal thriller at the Molineux between Manchester United and Wolves yesterday. At around 2:30 p.m. yesterday, the lineups were announced, all right? For what I think is the first time all season Ten Hag has been able to put out the best 11. Martinez, Casemiro back, Shaw at left back, and even after a treacherous 7 days in the spotlight, negative spotlight, Marcus Rashford made his way into the starting lineup as well. And it was another dream start for United. Marcus Rashford finds the back of the net. Great goal. Rasmus Højlund pounces on it, finishes off another. And before 20 minutes into the game, it's 2-0 United. Chance after chance after chance. Even 2 goals called back for offside. So it should have been 4-5-0 at halftime. Then comes the second half, which, if you're a fan of the game, honestly, it couldn't have been more exciting. But if you're a Manchester United fan, the only thing you're thinking is, not again. Then around the 82nd minute, I believe Ten Hag subs in the McTerminator. And at this point, it's 2-1, and the momentum has completely flipped to in favor of Wolves, feeding off that home crowd, and just, the script just completely flipped. But seconds after McTominay enters the pitch, the McTerminator finishes it off and scores the third goal. United go up 3-1, and the breathing room is back. Not so fast. Casemiro, who was playing on a yellow and caused the penalty early in the second half to bring it to 2-1 in favor of United, he was subbed off, he being Casemiro, and Lisandro Martinez came off. They both arguably, and you could tell, not a full 90-minute fit quite yet. Got to get the fitness up just a little bit. Things got a little slower in the transition game. Harry Maguire, Johnny Evans come on, who aren't that very fast in transition, and all of a sudden, boom, 3-3, and we are into the 95th minute. Ball game is tied. United have once again blew a 2-0 lead, 2-1 lead, and a 3-1 lead. And just when you think, how have we walked away with just a point here? The star boy, Kobe Mainoo, once again, United's January Player of the Month award winner, with an absolute beautiful goal to seal the deal and the 3 points. Like Erik ten Hag said, he has mixed emotions, mixed feelings about the game. And, so do I. Just some quick stats here for you. 21 shots for United to the Wolves' 16 shots. Wolves had 7 of those 16 shots on target. United had 8 of their 21 shots on target. Wolves with the 53% possession to United's 47%. And Wolves had just about 500 passes in the 99 to 100 minutes, and United had 448. Couple of things for me to take out of this, and it's going to be real short and sweet. One, that's the role Scott McTominay should play. One job, one order of business for him to enter the field with, and that's to get a goal, to secure the deal, make it a tie, a comeback, whatever. He should be tasked with one thing only: find yourself in the box with space, and then find the back of the net. And B, I'm really looking forward to seeing that starting 11 play some full 90s together. They'll have another chance this Sunday, as United are back at Old Trafford, where they welcome in the Hammers from West Ham, who are coming off a 1-1 draw with Bournemouth yesterday. Last time these two teams collided, the Hammers took home the 3 points as they just throttled United at the London Stadium 2-0 back in December. Of course, West Ham have the new addition. Calvin Phillips came over from City. It'll take some time for him to adjust with his new teammates, but I really do think, with the likes of him, Jared Bowen, James Ward-Prowse, Mohamed Kudus, they could really, really come good. Also, there's the embarrassing transfer saga fiasco between Benrahma, West Ham, and Lyon as the transfer just collapsed the last minute. I don't really have all the details, but what I do know is Lyon, Benrahma not happy with West Ham as they feel that West Ham completely disrespected not just the club Lyon, but Benrahma as a player. If I find out any more news from that, or if the Soccer Down Here crew does, I'm sure we'll let you know as soon as possible. As for United, I think we will see the same starting 11. If if Casemiro can stay out of trouble, I'd like to see him go a little deeper into the game, 65 or 75, 80 minutes, maybe even a full 90. And the same goes for Lisandro Martinez. As soon as he exited the game yesterday, he immediately had ice wrapped around that previously injured foot that kept him out for almost, damn near the whole season. So hoping that's just a precaution. We find out more, I'm sure I will let you all know. United definitely need 3 more points, but I see more of like a 1-1, 2-2 draw. Hope I'm wrong. Hope they can build from scoring 4 goals yesterday and bring that momentum into Sunday. But this is United, Jekyll and Hyde Club, if I've ever seen one before. But with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the 3D this week. Enjoy the Premier League this weekend, and we will talk Monday. Back over to you, John. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Joey. And now it's time to get you into the juice boxes for the weekend when it comes to the Premier League. And this is where Maddie and I discussed it on Fridays, SDH. And are you getting your venting vocal cords ready to discuss things?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if I bring them out today.
Okay.
I feel kind of okay. A little bit.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Just checking.
I'm nervous though.
Understood. Get that. I'm down. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch on TV, and we'll go through juice boxes before we go.
Absolutely.
Karim Benzema was linked to a move away from the Middle East, but he's going to clear the air talks with his club in the league that we neither condone, endorse, or promote. And they want him to stay for another year because they're paying him like £239 million.
Oh, jeez.
That's from our buddy Ben Jacobs. Villa's Callum Chambers rejected offers from 3 championship teams, despite the Midlands club being open to let him go. West Brom among the clubs to inquire about signing Chambers. That's from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Everton winger Ademola Lookman being targeted by Atletico Madrid and Juve, who could make a move for him. Currently plays for Atalanta. That could be in the summer. That's the 3-letter paper. We mentioned all of the shenanigans going on with Lyon and West Ham, and that looks like that's going to happen with Said Benrahma. Lewis Hamilton has hinted he could join forces with Sir Jim Ratcliffe at Manchester United once the curtain closes on their partnership with Mercedes, who are part-owned by Ineos. Arsenal could give Albert Sambi Lokonga a second chance after his positive performances on loan at Luton. Brian Heel has been linked with a loan move, has decided to stay at Spurs. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Stefano Sensi's loan move from Inter to Leicester City fell through despite him passing a medicals. The clubs couldn't agree to terms. All right, so juice boxes coming up for the weekend in the Premier League, and it's a full weekend of schedule compression. I feel like we need the Price is Right music at that point. Premier League stuff going on, and it is 5 tomorrow, 4 on Sunday, and Monday Night Football is Brentford hosting Manchester City at the G-Tech. So we'll play this like cliffhanger in The Price is Right. We'll go cliffhanger rules. If there's a game that you want to talk about briefly, then you yell stop, and we'll talk about it. Tomorrow morning, the early match, Spurs at Everton. Spurs are a plus 131. Everton at Goodison Park is a plus 200. Your draw is a plus 272. Your 10 o'clocks. Brighton at a minus 135 hosting Crystal Palace, who's a plus 372. Your draw is north of plus 300. Burnley hosting Fulham at Turf Moor. Burnley's a plus 195. Fulham a plus 148. Draws a plus 240. Newcastle hosting Luton Town at a minus 244. The other 10 o'clock match. Luton's a plus 637 coming in. Your draw is a plus 418. Are you yelling stop, or do you want me to keep going?
I'm not yelling stop because basically my whole shtick on it is that theoretically, we just won against Villa. We should theoretically win this match. It's at home.
Mm-hmm.
Luton is 17th in the standings. We should win.
They should.
Will we? I don't know. I have a like hot and cold relationship with this team right now.
I'm shocked.
Well, thank you. We go in, I'll go in and I feel really confident, and then we lose. And so I'm thinking my mentality is if I go in thinking we're gonna lose, then I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Okay. So undersell. I got it.
Exactly. So I
Okay.
think this is where I'm going with it, and that's where we're just gonna stick with it.
All right.
I hope.
All right. Late game on Saturday is you can listen to it on the way up to Athens for those of you that have tickets. It is Sheffield United at Bramall Lane hosting Aston Villa at a plus 411. Villa on the road is a minus 154, and your draw is a plus 330. Sunday, 4 matches, 9 o'clock. Bournemouth at the Vitality hosting Forest at a minus 139. Your draw is a plus 363. Chelsea at a minus 164. It looks like they 9 o'clock Eastern time. Chelsea hosting Wolves at Stamford Bridge at a minus 164. Wolves are a plus 450. Your draw is a plus 332. Go.
I think Chelsea and Wolves is going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that one, just because they're both kind of fighting for that little slot. They're like right underneath each other in the standings. I think that one is going to be a lot of fun to watch, especially with how Wolves played yesterday. Obviously, I mean, with that crazy game that happened in against Man United, that was nuts. I'm excited to see where that game falls. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm going to definitely be tuning into that one.
Understandable with that one. And Manchester United hosting West Ham. That one is something that hopefully Drew will be able to perhaps have a comment or two about. Manchester United, after the 7-goal madness, minus 154 at home, hosting West Ham at a plus 407. Draws a plus 329. Match of the weekend, Arsenal and Liverpool and Arsenal's a plus 125 at home. Liverpool on the road, a plus 210. Your draw's a plus 270. Interesting one there with Arsenal at the top of the table. And then Monday Night Football at the G-Tech, we mentioned Brentford at home hosting Manchester City. Manchester City a minus 233. Draws a plus 400. And Brentford is a plus 620. Dell says that obviously they couldn't bring in another striker because after Martial, because of FFP. Abby, thanks again, as always. Keep an eye out on websites associated with the Marshall Islands. You might see something this weekend. We call that a tease in the business. So, Manchester United could not bring in another striker after Martial because of FFP. And so Brentford, big underdog at home in Manchester City. And yes, Dell, I do have Haaland on my fantasy team. I've had him stashed the whole time. And literally trying to pick up I made some defensive adjustments because of what it looks like. But, yeah, I've got my front line is Haaland, Julian Alvarez, and Ollie Watkins, Jared Bowen, Phil Foden, Gordon, going up against Luton and Douglas Luiz are my midfield. Right now, my defending 3 is White, Zinchenko, and Virgil van Dijk going all against each other. I've got Tarkowski going up against Spurs on the bench, Kieran Trippier going up against Luton on the bench, and my keeper is Bernd Leno going up against Burnley. So that's my lineup. I've captained Haaland going up against Brentford, and I've got Phil Foden as my vice captain, which means I get like 1.5 points. So I've had him I had him stashed the whole time, and I was fiddling with since it's a cap league, trying to figure out, okay, how can I stash him and still navigate what's going on? I had to figure out AFCON. I had to figure out Asian Cup. So I had Youngmin Son, but I had to get rid of him because of Asian Cup. But I stashed Chen from Wolves because he was cheap at 5.6. So I kind of stashed him the whole time and just went with, see, this is what we go through on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We talked Premier League fantasy and how traditionally I end up like in the top 30% in the world on the Premier League website. Right now I am top 35%, 4.2 million out of 10.6 million. So I'm not doing too bad.
I vote that next season we should do a Premier League fantasy league with all of us plus the Twitch pitch. I think it could be.
I think, yeah, I'm down with that. Dell's lineup: Saliba, Alexander-Arnold, Estupiñán, Foden, Palmer, Bowen, Saka, Solanke, Watkins, and Tony. So Dell is in for the fantasy.
Okay.
Dell's in for the fantasy league for next year. So we got to come up with our own league and figure out how to.
I know we got to figure that out. I'll come up with a fun name.
That's your look at what is going on in the Premier League. Matchweek 23 for everybody except Manchester City. And they are going to be looking at Bournemouth, Brentford, and Luton as teammates in Matchweek 22, as they'll have matches to make up coming up down the line. So for Drew, for Maddie, and for me, and for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out with us for another round of Prem and Proper. Enjoy the games, everybody. Enjoy Matchweek 22/23. We'll catch up with you next week.